Okay, so what if we could build an internet where truth is just easier to find than lies? That's what we're digging into today, a pretty radical blueprint for exactly that. We're not talking about another fact-checking app. We're talking about architecting a whole new global infrastructure for truth itself. And this quote, well, it really nails the core of the problem, doesn't it? For basically all of human history, if you control the story, you control the world. The difference now is that in our digital age, that battle has just exploded into this chaotic global war for our attention. And honestly, the stakes have never been higher. And that brings us to the big question, the one that drives this whole idea. Right now, it feels like we're always playing defense, just trying to swat down a flood of misinformation. But what if we could flip the script? What if we could build an entirely new system where transparency isn't just a feature, it's baked into its fundamental code? All right, so first things first, let's be real about the problem. We're in an information crisis. And you feel it, I feel it, we all feel it. Every single day, we're hit with this fire hose of information from governments, companies, media outlets. But their real goals, their true incentives, they're usually buried. And that creates this deep, corrosive distrust where it's almost impossible to figure out who or what to believe. So if the system we have is fundamentally broken, what's the fix? Well, the proposal we're looking at is a total reboot. It's called the Intent OS. And don't think of this as just another website or app. You have to think bigger. This is framed as a completely new operating system for how we share and how we verify information across the entire globe. Now, this part is absolutely crucial to get. This is not about creating some kind of ministry of truth that tells everyone what's real. The goal is the complete opposite. It's about re-engineering the environment itself, creating an ecosystem where evidence naturally rises to the top and manipulation, well, it just struggles to find oxygen. So that all sounds great in theory, right? But how would a system like this actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to break down the key pillars that would form this new architecture of trust. Okay, pillar number 1, radical transparency. Imagine if every single article, every video, every post you saw came with this thing called an intent disclosure layer. With just a glance, you could see exactly who made it, what they claim their goal is, are they trying to inform you or sell you something, who paid for it, and what kind of independent verification it's been through. Suddenly, hidden agendas don't have anywhere to hide. And here's the key part. That verification wouldn't come from some single central authority. No way. It would be decentralized. So let's say there's a claim about a chemical spill. In this system, you could have local journalists, independent scientists, and verified eyewitnesses on the ground all contributing their own evidence to the same shared record. You get this rich, multifaceted picture of reality that no one person or group can control. So if you're trying to wrap your head around this, think of it like a mashup of 3 really powerful ideas. You've got the collaborative, open-source spirit of something like Wikipedia. You add the unchangeable, permanent public record-keeping of a blockchain. And you top it off with a reputation system where people who contribute accurately build up trust over time. And when you put all that together, what it does is it completely flips the power dynamic on its head. The whole design is meant to pull influence away from these big, opaque institutions and their advertisers and put it directly into the hands of individual creators and the public that actually supports their work. This is another game changer. You would no longer have to just take a headline at face value. You could actually click through to the evidence itself. You could see the raw source documents, the unedited video footage, the expert analysis. It would all be linked directly to the claim, creating this verifiable chain of evidence that anyone can go and inspect for themselves. And as this happens over time, claim by claim, what you're building is something you could call a global truth ledger. Every initial claim, every piece of evidence, every verification, every correction, it all gets time-stamped and locked in. You're creating a permanent auditable history that makes it incredibly difficult for anyone to just go back and rewrite the past to suit their agenda. So you might be wondering, where does AI fit into all of this? Well, its role here isn't to be the judge and jury. The key is that AI is not a censor. It's more like a watchdog. Its job would be to scan for large-scale patterns of manipulation. You know, things like coordinated bot networks or sudden artificial shifts in a narrative, and then flag them for human review. It's an early warning system against propaganda. The system also empowers everyday people through what's called a citizen witness layer. It would create a verified way for anyone on the ground to report what they're seeing in real time. And this is huge because, think about it, an authoritarian regime might be able to silence a few journalists, but it is much, much harder to silence millions of digitally connected eyewitnesses all at once. Now, I want to be super clear about something. The point of all this is not to create one single official truth that everyone has to agree on. It's about doing the opposite. It's about providing a shared foundation of verified facts while very clearly and structurally separating them from analysis, from opinion, and from speculation. It's about giving us clarity on what is known, not conformity on what to think. So that's the vision. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. This brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of this conversation, the fight for truth. Because a vision this big, well, it comes with some equally massive challenges. When you zoom all the way out, the big dream here is to build a true piece of global public infrastructure, kind of like the internet itself. A system for verifying information that is owned by no one and is operated by everyone who uses it, making it completely independent of the governments, the corporations, and the billionaires who pretty much run our information landscape right now. But, and this is the big but, that brings us to the central paradox, right? A system that's built on radical transparency is designed to take away the one tool, control over information, that powerful groups have always used to stay in power. And that means any real attempt to build this would face, you can be sure, just massive resistance from the very people who benefit from the way things are now. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. If, and yeah, it's a huge if, but if a system like this could somehow overcome all that resistance, and if it could actually be made to work on a global scale, what would that mean for us? Could it become one of the single most important, most empowering democratic tools we've ever built? That's really something to think about.